rolling.
Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 168 of the Jiu Jitsu Dummies podcast. We are brought to you by Black Belt Digital Marketing. Anything you need to build your business on or offline, it's website design, SEO, Google Ads, graphic design, printing. We can absolutely help. Check us out at Black Belt Digital Marketing on Instagram or our website, bbdigitalmarketing.com. Request a free review of your entire online presence right there on the homepage today. My name is Milton Campus. I'm a black belt training out of Coral Springs, BJJ in Coral Springs, Florida. We got Christian behind the camera.
What's up?
We got Ben on the co-hosting duties as usual. I guess you're sticking around.
I'm here.
You're okay.
I'm in it to win it.
You're gonna do this for a little bit?
Yeah. Eventually, you're going to get too famous from Academy Safe, and someone's going to have to take over.
Well, apparently you're a big deal now, right?
I wouldn't say I'm a big deal, but people.
You got to be careful what you come in and say right at the beginning when you walk in.
I mean, I leave an impression.
Listen, I've gassed you up, but I'm going to pop the head. I'm just kidding. I've talked to you about I think that your social media, your under 1 minute instructionals that you're doing, I think they're amazing.
Thank you.
That is one of my favorite to watch. I'm like, the way that you teach it is the way that I like to learn. Everybody teaches a little bit differently, but the way that it's cut and the way that, it's pretty much like they don't even have to cut it.
Yeah.
Like you go through each, piece of the move and then it's perfect for a beginner or a black belt. It's like, I don't do that. Why don't I put my foot there? Why don't I put my hand there? Oh, I could do it like that. It's good stuff. I believe in you. I believe in you, Dr. Ben.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like, comment, save, share, click that subscribe button. We appreciate all the support. Why don't I let you go first today? You can. You want to give a shout out to your fight tape?
Let me tell you.
And we could mention the seminar if we could start talking about it if you want.
We have so much going on at fighttape.us. First and foremost, if you are a corner, cut man, coach, promoter, and you want your fighters' hands to be awesome when they hit other people, you should buy our gauze and tape because it's high quality and low cost. Now, because of that, you guys might not know, I'm one of the leading cut men in the States, definitely on the East Coast. And I've teamed up with my friend Drew Phoenix over at A&M Jiu-Jitsu to put together a hand wrapping seminar for coaches and cornermen.
In Fort Lauderdale?
In Fort Lauderdale, Florida. You can fly in. We're not far from the airport.
So for those, A&M Jiu-Jitsu is just in that same building with
Extreme
Action Park,
yes,
where Arte Suave does a lot of events. So they used to do a lot of events in the back there. So go on. So people from South Florida know, Extreme Action Park. Yeah. You drive around the back, right? You got the old, what is it, like, what's the old gym that was there?
It was Hard Knocks.
It was Hard Knocks.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things.
So,
nonetheless, we have put together a seminar to teach people how to wrap their hands, make pads, deal with corner work, setting up for the fights, etc. We're going to plan that for August 2nd. Be there or be square. Support not just awesome local businesses, but Academy Safe, as they are our, sponsor, provider,
We're
promoter?
Let's call it a sponsor.
Conjunction?
We're sponsoring, in conjunction. Well, I guess it's a hand wrap seminar to benefit Academy Safe.
There you go. Perfect.
We typically, when we do a seminar like this, we do split it with coaches and the location. So in this case, it's 3, right?
Yep.
So Drew's location, you're coming in, and then the Academy Safe will get a 3rd.
We're here to party and teach.
We'll start putting out more information on Jiu Jitsu Dummies. I'm sure you're going to share it as well.
Without a doubt.
Hammer Jiu Jitsu. I'm sure they'll be representing Hammer Jiu Jitsu. So
what up?
Hammer Jiu Jitsu shop.
Actually,
or did you change
I got rid of it entirely. I converted it over to the Fight Tape website.
Okay.
So I'll put the t-shirts and stuff up, but it'll just be like a tab
as part of
this.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome, man. Did I say this already? Don't forget to like, comment, share, save, click the subscribe button. We appreciate all your support. Waiting in the wings, we have Dr. Diana Wang. Want to let's say hello to Diana, Dr. Diana.
Hi.
Hey guys,
How you doing?
How are you?
She is a doctor of physical therapy. She's being very patient for us while we do a couple more shout outs. I promise you it's only going to take a couple of minutes, but we are also brought to you guys by Academy Safe. You just mentioned Academy Safe. Academy Safe is a nonprofit whose mission is to help clean up the martial arts by advocating for background checks, U.S. Center for Safe Sports certifications, and concussion training for all coaches and staff members at every academy throughout the United States and Canada. I am the founder and executive director of Academy Safe, Rob Ingram from McDojo, at McDojo Life on Instagram. Most people know him from that. He's the executive VP, and together we're completely changing the way that people find and vet martial arts academies by providing a website registry listing Academy Safe accredited martial arts academies. So they do those 3 things. background check, concussion course, and U.S. Center for Safe Sports certification. But then the owner's also doing, like, make sure you have an AED, cameras. We're going to check your business insurance, lineage check. Not only getting certified for first aid, CPR, and the AED that you have on premises, right? We want to do that. All of those things. We want to make sure that the academy is safe as possible. So there are 8 different things. You can see them right there on our homepage at academysafe.org. If you're an academy owner or even a coach and you want to get started, if you're a coach, you don't have to wait for the owner. You can get yourself started. You can list your academy. It says register my academy right there on the homepage on the menu bar and get the process started. Rob has done an awesome job being reactive to what's gone on in this world with, sexual assaults and so on. Here we're coming in trying to do something a little bit more proactive together. He's, kind of been he's been the flag bearer of this kind of thing for a very long time.
Does Safe use his database?
He has it. No. So his database is, we're doing additional searches, but if they've been convicted, they're going to come up in the background check. It's a local and national local and federal background check. His database is of people that have been convicted and have gone to jail. So there's that. We have that database connected to our website on our resources page as well. When we don't just depend on the background check, we do our own search of each individual, just, an online search of the individuals, the coaches, the location. So we're doing additional searches just to make sure, let's see what comes up, because maybe there's allegations versus nobody's, nobody got charged, but there have been allegations. We need to find out about that. And under every listing, we ask for, hey, like, if there's a coach not listed here, let us know. So like very much kind of community based where, hey, let us know if we're missing something. And I haven't had anybody report on an accredited academy, but I've certainly had people say like, hey, man, I'd like to, tell you about this academy that I know. And I go, okay, we're not a reporting agency. If you know that somebody's doing something bad, either call the police or report them to the U.S. Center for Safe Sport or, a local organization. Like somebody's got to get in there. I would say if there's something illegal going on, you need to call the police right away. That's first and foremost. If it is an allegation and needs to be investigated and it's kind of, you don't know what to do. Yeah. You can report to the U.S. Center for Safe Sport, but right now they are Olympic sports. So, there's, I guess, Taekwondo, karate, judo, but, jiu-jitsu isn't necessarily, an Olympic sport. Not necessarily. It isn't an Olympic sport, so it's not necessarily covered. I know they're trying to get more government funding to do all sports. So anybody can report from any sport is where they want to go.
It's going to get sticky.
It's going to get sticky, but somebody's got to do it, So here we are trying to do something a little bit more proactive. So go to academysafe.org, check out our mission. If you're a coach, go ahead and sign up. It's a little cheaper if you're a coach to sign up. It's $75 a year. You get a background check every 2 years, U.S. Center for Safe Sports certification every 2 years. Every year you get a continuing ed that we remind you of that you have to do with U.S. Center for Safe Sports. So we're staying on top of it, but we're also listing your academy, promoting you. I think you've seen we've done a great job of putting sharing to stories and putting your sticker,
you guys are great.
Accreditation sticker. So we really want to promote you guys as the safe academies. You don't need the owner to sign up as a coach. You will need the owner to sign up and all of the staff members to sign up if you want to get accredited. But we will show that you as a coach have your items done at that location, but we will also show that you're not fully accredited.
Yeah. Coaches, as a coach who worked independently long before, opening up my own gym, go get that accreditation. It'll allow you to make more money. You can, hey, I am AED, CPR, first aid certified. I'm a proven non-criminal, etc. So it'll open you up to a higher clientele base. You can start doing at-home visits. You can get into nicer areas that kind of demand those things already. And then when you go to get a job at a gym, you can be like, oh, you have more to haggle with than just like, I'm a brown belt.
Yeah, absolutely. And for, the mission ultimately for us, for the public, is that we all get people. I mean, even you that own an academy, I'm sure you get people outside of your area that say, hey, do you know a good academy to send little Johnny to? Or, I want people to be able to say, well, the first thing you should do, where do you live? And have you, go on academysafe.org, find the list of academies, see if there's someone near you. If there's not, reach out to us. Maybe we can set you up with somebody that we know, that we feel is a good fit. But ultimately, creating that database is what we want to do. I had a great conversation with an organization overseas who might be working with us. They do something similar. They have to do something similar for their organization, but they have U.S. and Canadian academies that they aren't able to vet that they might want us to vet. So we'll immediately have these like hundreds of academies in North America. So we're adding every day. Again, get on there, academysafe.org. Real quick, I'm going to do this unboxing real quick, and then we're going to bring Dr. Diana back in. So we've got a box from the BJJbox.com. They did go to quarterlies. So I'm just going to go through some of the stuff. I'm going to throw it over to you, Ben, and then you can go, wow, and then put them on the chair over there. They have a cool Venom. This is like, it's a stretchy. I don't know that it's like not a traditional rash guard.
Yeah. I've had shirts like this. It's like half t-shirt, half rash guard.
Yeah, and it's tight. For me, that XL wasn't a good fit.
No? Well,
I did give one to.
Look how big my arms are.
I gave one to Leighton Campbell, who wrote this book over here, Your Happiness Equation. So shout out to Leighton. He's doing really great with the book. Check out his social media. What is it? At Your Happiness EQ.
Yep.
On Instagram. Check him out. So we had that. We got a Fight Camp water bottle. All right, very cool.
This looks like a martini.
And just so that everybody understands, the BJJ box, right? They send you a box of X, depending on which box you get, a box of 5 to 7 typically, yeah, right? 5 to 7 items that are, martial arts related, jiu-jitsu related, usually a lot of stuff with, for injuries and things like that. So I've got my, knee sleeves and things like that. We've got a Throne Sport Coffee, salted caramel. If you want to pop that, you can pop that. We could taste that, or you could taste it. Funny enough, not funny enough. One of the things that we did with them is we actually put our Academy Safe 4x6 card with more information on Academy Safe in there as well.
I'm gonna get some cups for coffee.
And then we have oh, there you go, knee sleeve, Shock Doctor knee sleeve, very cool. And then we had hot and cold neck sleeve. All right, so it looks like I think you could probably put this in the freezer. If it's for hot, then you're also probably putting it in the microwave to heat it up, right? Very cool. Let's check this out here. A little heavy. Yeah, I'm guessing you can either put this in the freezer or throw it in the microwave for your neck. Here we go. All right. Throw that on. All right, something like that. Oh, you're doing shots of coffee. Smart.
I mean, yeah, why not? Hold on. Let's get this. Let's get this
Practitioner. Yeah, we gotta. Hopefully, this has got a battery in it. We're gonna try this before.
We are definitely doing that today. I have a better grip than you. I'll fight you.
Well, you've got a better everything than me, Ben. I mean,
just where it comes to looks.
We've got a Jiu Jitsu Dummies keychain. Did I ever give you a keychain? Here you go. You get to keep that one.
Dope.
And what do we got? Oh, we got a second sleeve. Oh, he's usually, probably you would get one. He sends usually 2 of everything or 2 of a lot of the stuff. I did get another shirt. I gave the shirt to Leighton, and then that one that we have here. But cool, just lots of little goodies. Again, they went to quarterly. If you go to thebjjbox.com and use, what's our code? Gosh darn it, it's JJD20. I believe is the code. If I am wrong, you're going to see it on the screen right now. Bo's going to put it on the screen. That's the right code. I believe it's JJD20. You know what it is that I took them out of the last episode, and I didn't leave the coupon code in. My bad. But it should be JJD20. All right, guys. Here, you can throw that stuff back in the box.
Cool.
Dr. Diana, let's bring her back in. Thank you for being so patient.
Do you hate us?
We got to, got to pay the bills.
It was great to watch you guys do some of your, shout outs and unboxing.
Thank you. It was boring. Come on. So, Dr. Diana, tell us a little bit more about what you do. I know that if people want to check you out, it's open. You're at Open Mat Physio, correct? PHYSIO. But tell us a little bit more about what you're doing. And I know, did I book you and then your partner, Matt, like in 2 different, does he also have an interview set up? Is that him? I know that I saw somebody that you did something with that I've also got scheduled, but I don't know if it's the same person that's on Open Mat Physio. Am I right or wrong?
Is it Matt Guffey?
I think so, yeah. Is that your partner?
Matt Guffey actually owns a strength and conditioning gym in Northern California.
Okay.
We're just good friends, and he also works with jiu-jitsu athletes and a couple other types of athletes, but he's been training jiu-jitsu for a while, so I think that's like how we kind of got connected in the beginning. So
Okay. All right. So then, okay. So again, tell us a little bit about more what you're doing, and if you want to talk about Dr. Chris, that's perfect.
yeah, so my name's Diana. I am a doctor of physical therapy, certified athletic trainer, owner of Open Mat Physio. Chris is the other physical therapist that is a part of our team. Currently, he is in sports residency, so he's been super, super busy with trying to keep up with some of the schooling stuff. He has to take a huge certification test in, I think, later this year. I'm not quite sure. I think maybe in the fall.
Okay.
But it is an extensive 1-year residency program that he goes through, and he's working a ton because with the LA fires, a lot of the sports teams around the area, they had to delay or postpone some of their games. So he has to kind of like catch up with some of those things. So Open Mat Physio, we are just a team of physical therapists who also train jiu-jitsu, who are on a mission to help grapplers who are injured come back from an injury, be able to get back to training, and then be able to stay as resilient as possible, because ultimately our goal is to be able to train as long as we want, you know?
Sure.
So can we be best friends?
Of course. I thought that was already,
That's a given.
Okay,
Hey, you are a jiu-jitsu. What rank are you?
blue belt.
Oh, you're blue belt. Oh, why'd you go blue belt? Like, and look up like,
because she's a
I
good
feel
blue
like
belt.
I've been a blue belt for almost 3 years now, so it's just been my experience in my jiu-jitsu journey has been kind of interesting because I've moved to a bunch of different gyms. So I've probably been at like 7 different gyms. Some are based off of just location changes with work, but also some have just been not being able to find a good fit with what I'm looking for in a gym. But the gym that I'm at now and the instructor that I'm with now, I feel really good about the way that he teaches, my training partners, the environment. So I feel really grateful to finally have been able to find the right gym for me.
That's awesome.
so with an emphasis on what we're doing, I put a lot of emphasis on Academy Safe. It's near and dear to my heart. I'm curious what makes a good academy for you. What were some of those dynamics, especially and don't be surprised at this, you're a woman.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And you have different concerns. You have you have different concerns, and I hate when I have to say that, as a father of only girls, I've got two girls. That's important to me. They're adults, but like I do consider that, and I've been in their ear about what to watch out for, and if you go away on a trip or a cruise or you go to a club, like what not to do, and just watch out. I know what guys do. I'm a guy. I know what guys do out there. But as it relates to jiu-jitsu, I mean, again, I've seen that part from the inside. So tell us, what is a good gym for Diana?
I think the first thing that it comes down to is just being able to feel safe in the gym. And when I think of safety, it's more so just being around training partners who have your best interests in mind. So people who are not there to hurt you, people who are there to make sure that you're getting the training that you should be getting. Obviously, as a woman, we biologically are just not as strong, not as fast, not a lot of things more than men. So like I've been in gyms where guys are just trying to win so badly that I've gotten injured. And it's just gotten to a point where I'm like, you know what, this place is not for me. I need to go somewhere where I hate it sounding like being gentle, but more so just working at the same speed and working at the same limitations. Cause I've like trained with guys before who are, you can tell when they're just muscling everything. And then I've also trained with guys before who are really trying to work on technique, allowing me to move, giving me the right resistance. And those are probably my best training partners. And they also communicate and say, let me know if I'm going too hard or, and that was like a big thing for me. And then obviously the other part of understanding, like I'm sure you've seen in social media right now with a couple of things happening at B team, but like being able to feel safe that people are not going to cross the line, because jiu-jitsu is such a close contact, intimate, vulnerable sport where we are in like basically hugging each other the entire time, that nothing weird is going to come out of it outside of the gym. Personally, I have been lucky enough that that hasn't been a huge problem for me. But there have been some instances where I'm like, okay, I feel like this person is a little bit weird, and I just get weird vibes, so I'm just not going to train with them. And that has also led me to leave certain gyms very early on in my white belt journey. And yeah, I think in terms of safety, that's really big. And if we think of the jiu-jitsu side, there's just certain things that I'm looking for in an instructor: someone who's present, someone who cares, someone who really watches out for their students and really wants their students to succeed in whatever their definition of success is. I think that was really important for me to find. So I feel grateful that I've been able to find an instructor that does encompass all those things.
Is the one thing I didn't hear you mention was, if I missed it, I apologize, but is the amount of women that are training, is that part of your calculus as well?
So I think because women are already so scarce in jiu-jitsu, it is sometimes challenging to find good women training partners. But I think if I go to a place and let's say there aren't that many women, but the men are really good training partners and they're still able to give me the training that I need, then it is not as big of a deal. Right now, I have a couple really good women training partners that I'm very lucky to have, which help me offset like the limitation of the amount of women. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
I just wanted to highlight something real quick. She said if someone gives her the creeps, she just doesn't train with them. And I think not enough people understand that you don't have to train with people.
Yeah.
And if you're in a room where they're like, no, you have to train with X, and you're like, I'm not comfortable, or they've hurt me, or, they're just a spaz. Don't allow yourself to be forced, and don't feel bad about telling someone no.
Yeah.
We've all run into the guy who hurts everyone, or the creepy guy, or the stinky guy. Like, the answer is no, and there should be no shame about it.
Yeah. Agreed. And I, as an older guy, I'm not scared to tell anybody. I'm like, I'm here for me. I'm at, 12 years in with a black belt. Yeah, I feel more comfortable doing that than most, but I've been doing that for a while. Like, I know that guy's got a competition next week, and I see him going ham on everybody.
Yeah, and I'm 50.
I've got to go to a podcast tomorrow. I got to go to work. I got to go to a meeting. I can't. I'm not going to let him go freaking crazy, because I'm going to get. I don't usually hurt myself. It's somebody else that's done something stupid, right? And so I'm not scared to tell somebody that no, I'm good. Or I've even said to people, again, I don't want to, like, this isn't being braggadocious. I look younger than I am. They expect that I'm younger, and they expect something different from me. So I will say to somebody, I'm like, do you know, I'm probably not the right fit for you. Like, you're, 20 years old and you're a brown belt, and, there are plenty of other guys your age. I would, if I see that they're not a good training partner, especially like, I'm talking a little bit more like maybe like an open mat, people come in. My gym, everybody kind of knows each other. But when we have like an open mat on Sunday, sometimes there's just a stranger there, and I'm like, this guy's going fucking ham on everybody. He doesn't realize, he might not realize it. I'm just not going to roll with them. I don't have to roll with them. My commitment to going to an open mat isn't I have to roll with anybody. Now, if I was a little bit younger, that might be a little bit different. But again, as an older player, I'm not afraid to tell anybody like, hey, no. Or, hey, listen, you got, calm down. And there are times that I've told people to, like, you have control of the accelerator. You go up, I'm going to go up. So like, I see you roll. I mean, you're going to go up, I'm going to go up too. And, it's, and something, something bad can happen. But
you heard that? Something bad.
I don't mean it like that. But Diana, so you're at a gym that you're comfortable. How much does what you do business-wise play in? Because I have had that experience where I had the podcast. I've only been at 3 gyms. My first gym closed after 2 years before I started the podcast. But I did start a t-shirt company with the owner. And then he kind of didn't come through on his part, but I kept it, and it's now the podcast shop years later. I started the podcast at my second gym, and I could see that there was a little jealousy. I had him on, but there was a little jealousy when it took off, to the point where he was even like, hey, I'm going to put a podcast studio in my gym. Do you want to record here? I'm going to put a podcast studio because I want to start podcasting. And he never did. But there was a, knowing him now, and after I've, very jealous and like doesn't like anybody else to have more success than him. does your business play into where you could be? You know, is it like, hey, coach, I also do this. I'm going to be talking to other students, and some of your students might use me for my services. Is that a consideration as well? Like, are you at a place where you're comfortable talking, or they're comfortable with you talking about what you do as a business?
That hasn't really been that much of an issue for any of the gyms that I've been at. I think most of the time they're very open with me. Well, first of all, I don't like really talk too much about the fact that I own Open Mat Physio and what we do until I get to know some of my training partners and they follow me on Instagram. They're like, oh, you're a physio. You know, it kind of comes a little.
You bring a lot to the table. Yeah, your coach, I mean, should really be like, you bring a lot to the table. This is like a gift.
Totally.
Like,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
to have somebody in the gym like, with your experience.
Yeah, all of the coaches, all of the facilities have been very welcoming. And they, if anything, they're like, we built a type of relationship. And then they say, oh, if I have any students, I would love to send them to you. And to me, it's more of that connection of being able to organically build a friendship with the instructors or with the academy owners. And then once they see that you are like well-intentioned and you're not trying to just go there to get their students to work with you, then they tend to trust you a little bit more. And they're like, okay, well, if I hear somebody that needs you, then I'm going to refer them to you. So I haven't really, I haven't really had a problem.
It's smart from an ownership perspective to see the value in what you bring to the table, not look at you as like some type of competition. Again, my experience has just been like, oh, you're doing something to make money in jiu-jitsu. Well, I want them spending money on my gis, on my shirts, on my rash guards. And here I am talking about like, hey, this sponsor or that. Again, in my old school, like I would show up with a flow and roll gi and he'd be like, flow and roll, nice. You know, oh yeah. Did you see we have gis here too? Like he'd be like, we sell gis here too. I'm like, I get, you know, the sponsor, I'm getting them for free. What do you want me to do?
Just throw a patch on it, man. It's not that big.
Yeah. Yeah. I do that too. But I again, it's my experience, you know, limited experience. Cause again, I'm at my third gym. They're super, they were like, I had a banner for Flow and Roll at an event that we did. We did a seminar and they were like, hey, you want to leave the banner up? They have nothing to do with Flow and Roll. They're like, leave the Flow and Roll banner up. Cool. It's in the background of all these pictures and stuff. Like, that's what you want. You want somebody to be like, oh, like, you know, rising tide, right? You know, you want, you know, it's going to do better for all of us. Maybe you do a deal with Flow and Roll. Maybe, you know, I've had 2 cops from my gym on the podcast. We're talking about the gym. We're talking about martial arts. We're talking about jiu-jitsu, but it puts some shine on the gym. And I've been waiting to actually invite them on. My school just finished their accreditation for Academy Safe. So I've been waiting. I'm sure they're probably like, why isn't he on the show? But I'm having students on the show. Like I had 2 purple belts on the show already. I want to have the owners on, but I was waiting for the accreditation to
Is Academy Safe a contingency plan for being on the show?
What do you mean?
Well, if you're a gym owner and you're not a member of Academy Safe, why are we promoting you?
Well, there's a couple of different things. There's not, you don't have to do one to do the other, but it is nice to have those people on, right? You know, it is, or when we speak to gym owners, they like, hey, what's going on with this? I'd like to get involved. And, you know, you've started the process.
I gotta
BJJ After 40, the grounds out in Colorado started after we've had a relationship. So, most of the people know us here or know Rob from McDojo. And like, that's how it started. So, it's been a good thing. I'm always interested in like the dynamics of like, you know, the kind of the business of jiu-jitsu, and then like when your students might own businesses. I'm that guy. I do own multiple businesses that relate to jiu-jitsu, or martial arts. So it's usually like I'm careful, like you said, like I'm not walking in there going, hey, I got some watches for sale. You know, I'm going in there going, you know, like I'm here to train, but just so you know, I do these other things, and it's very public. So they, you know, especially my gym, they knew they knew what I did and who I was before I came in, because I did have a friend that was there. So it wasn't something that I had to like hide or present later. But I also see you have this, you have Open Mat _social hour on Instagram. Are you guys actively, are you doing a podcast, or is it something that you started? I don't see anything else posted there other than the logo right now.
Yeah. So we have been active for, I think, a little bit over a year now. We have around 76 episodes.
Hey, congrats.
We release episodes every Friday. They're audio only, so you can just find them on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever streaming platform. But we talk a little bit about you know, Chris and I will go in and we'll do some Q&As based off questions that we've gotten on Instagram, or we will talk about specific topics that have been trending in the rehab world with jiu-jitsu. And then we also interview some guests who have gone through their own journeys of injuries and their process of coming back, what they've learned. And we try to cover as much as we can to just resonate with the regular person that trains that may be going through something and they need to find, let's say, something to relate to during their rehab journey.
Sure. I'm always curious as well, and I'll leave this subject after this question, I think.
I can't stop in the middle of wrestling season and just go get a hip replacement is what the doctors want to do. I don't have time to take off. Since going to Leheal, my knee pain is 100% gone. I couldn't even run from here to the door over there. And then after completing the peptide treatment, I can run miles now. Anybody that wants to stay active, anyone that's involved with a sport, anyone that has young kids, and you want to avoid, number one, the cost of surgery, the rehab from surgery, Leheal is the place to go.
Unlock the power of your online presence with Black Belt Digital Marketing. Their reputation management program ensures your Google business profile is seen by more potential customers. Black Belt Digital Marketing is your full-service digital marketing agency specializing in local SEO and reputation management. Boost your business today. Visit bbdigitalmarketing.com. Your success is their priority.
Is there a network amongst the women who train jiu-jitsu, even if it's just within the gym, where it's kind of like, yeah, watch out for that guy, or yeah, I didn't like that coach either? Like, are the women speaking about this? I mean, again, because for somebody that's, you know, with what we're doing with Academy Safe, I'm getting people coming to me like, hey, can I tell you about this gym? Or, hey, watch out for those guys. And we were looking for a business attorney the other day, and I posted online and I got a woman saying like, I don't have anybody to use, but I can tell you who not to use and what academies to stay away from. Like, I'm getting a lot of that. Like, people want to tell us, they want people to know. I mean, rightfully so, like, stay away from that gym. Are women speaking about this within jiu-jitsu? And, you know, you're still like relatively early in your jiu-jitsu career, but you were 3 years at blue belt. So how many years total?
6 years.
6 years. So, I mean, so you've been around, so you're a veteran. You're not Brent. So, I mean, are the women talking about this as much as we're talking about it?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's so much that is said behind the scenes. There's so much that happens when, even if we already have a community of women in our gym, if a new woman walks in, then a lot of times we will just take them in and like tell them what to watch out for, who to watch out for, and make sure that they're safe, because we already know it's such a scarce amount of women in jiu-jitsu. So if anybody comes in and wants to try, we want to make sure that they're safe as well.
It's not just like the creepy guys. It's like, hey, that guy rolls a little too hard with the ladies. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, and it's been nice because when I travel and go to other academies, if we're doing seminars and all that, it's kind of cool to walk in and then one of like their lead women will come up to me and say, here, this is, or even a man, like they'll come up and say, hey, I'm just going to give you a heads up of the people that are good for you to roll with. And we just want to make sure that you're safe. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There should be a Facebook members group for this kind of stuff.
Yes,
San
Academy
Francisco
Safe. At Academy Safe.
Yeah, but you can only deal with factual.
Yeah,
a Facebook group can deal with this is my experience.
That's the hard part. That's the hard part. We had as a board, we had the discussion of we made a distinction between good and bad. We want to show you good academies. We're going to leave it up to others to be doing, like being a sounding board for the bad, because immediately if we start talking about academies with rumors, we'll be out of business. We're going to get sued. We'll be done before we get started. So what we chose to do is say, we don't have to be a sounding board about the bad. McDojo does that. He does that. He does the investigation. So even though he's a board member, he's been doing that for 2 decades.
What if you had
I pass things along to him. I pass things along to him all the time. Yeah. I'm like, hey, check out this, or this is a brand new news article. Have you seen it? Like literally, like just reported, or martial arts instructor arrested. So he does that, and it's like not an arm of Academy Safe, but I'm like, hey, did you hear about this? Check this out. It's all public information that he's looking for and then reporting on. But we've stayed away from that, at least for now. Our resources page gives you tons of places to report to. Again, we say dial 911 if somebody's in danger. Otherwise, these are the things or the places that you can look for or report to. We've got suicide hotlines on there. We've got sexual assault hotlines, domestic violence, U.S. Center for Safe Sport. There's one for the main U.S. Center for Safe Sport, and then there's one that brings you right to the reporting page where you can actually put in a complaint. So, we're very we want to be careful about that. But I'm glad that the women are talking. I'm glad that they're talking. I mean, it's I don't want to say that's obvious, but I want to, I want to hear it from a woman. But part of the reason that I asked that too is because I was very disappointed in the gym that I was at that sparked Academy Safe, that the women knew, but they didn't. Most of them didn't leave, or a lot of them didn't leave, and it took a long time for them to leave when they found out that the coach was doing something bad. And I don't fault them to that because I heard things that were going on, and I stayed. But it was kind of like they got progressively worse. It was, two adults cheating on their spouses. That's none of my business. But then when it got deeper into the details, it was just like, ooh, this is getting bad. It was like a Popovich times, to the X whatever
I'm
power.
Not familiar with the Popovich story. I mean, I'm familiar with some of them.
Yeah.
But not one that I.
All right, Dr. Diana, do you know about that? I don't know that we need to go down that road too far. Do you know about? So Pablo Popovich wound up sleeping with a student's wife. That student happened to be, I don't know if we could pull that. I don't even remember his name. I could probably Google it. It was a UFC fighter, a very large UFC fighter, heavyweight, badass dude comes to the gym with a gun.
I've been liver shot knocked out by him.
Oh, you have? What's his name?
Thiago Silva. Surprisingly nice to me. Thiago Silva, surprisingly nice. They were separated at the time, I believe. And there was some cocaine involved in that.
Let me see. Thiago Silva, UFC. Is that I know his face. Yes, that is him.
So here's the thing. I like Thiago. I've had no negative experiences with him. But before they did UFC Embedded, they did like a different behind the scenes thing. And they were talking to his wife and like, oh, how'd you guys meet? And she's like, I joined this gym as a purple belt. And he just walked up to me and was like, you want to go out? And she's like, I told him no every day because I'm here to train. And after 6 months, she's like, it grew on me. He was like very persistent. He was cute. He was a leader in the room. And she's like, we went out on like 2 dates. And he's like, you will talk to no more men. You are my girlfriend now.
How Brazilian of him.
Bro, just right off the bat, I was like, okay.
I said Brazilian. How macho of him. Well, I mean, that's so Diana, that's something that happened here in South Florida. The Thiago comes to the gym with a gun and threatens the coach. That wound up shutting the coach's gym down because everybody left. I mean, it was that big of a deal that people were like, this is messed up. We're leaving. This is inappropriate of you to be doing this like with your student's wife, regardless of they're broken up or whatever. And I mean, I'm sure other things. I mean, he basically is like in Abu Dhabi now. Like he left the country. Yeah, so, I think he coaches there.
Yeah, the Sheikh's son has been bringing over these. Lebo went, Pahumpa went. Most of my coaches have been, and he pays ferociously well. And Pablo had been before, and so he was just like, "Hey, you want me to come back?" And he's like, "Oh, what? You were just one of the best ever." So yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
And so he's been there for like 8 years or something.
So yeah, I mean, so that happened, and I mean, there's other things people could look up. Just look up sexual assault martial arts.
Yeah.
Or in Florida, just add the word Florida.
Way too many.
There's just way too many. This happens way too often. But I mean, that was a situation where again, like. You're saying that he left, but I know like a lot of students left, and that was the downfall, or at least, his name got dragged through the mud. But that was a big deal. And then UFC throws him out, then he gets deported, and, he loses his UFC career.
I think he's in Deerfield.
Is he back here?
Pretty sure.
Is he? I thought he got deported.
Who knows?
No? Okay. But I mean, yeah. So, again, Dr. Diana, we're talking about, kind of gym safety. No, I mean, these are things, I don't know if, there's anything you want to add to that, but that's been the experience here, and a lot of what's happened here in Florida, including that, were kind of the precursors to Academy Safe. And, my coaches come from that, some of that lineage, so it's kind of like it keeps on happening with the same group of people. So,
it's hard. It's hard because I feel like in every situation or like gym that I've been in, there always has been kind of drama and all. It's hard because there's just a lot of people when you gather people, and then there's jiu-jitsu, such an interesting sport. You're going to have certain things that happen, but there have been instances where it is the right thing to leave. And I think that's what it comes down to is people being able to differentiate what is actually is like normal things and then what is actually inappropriate, and making the right call when it comes down to that.
Sure. Yeah. I used to, like, when I was at my old gym, it was a husband-wife team. There was a point where we separated the men from the women, where we all used to train together, and then they separated us. And at the time, we just thought it's like, oh, this is great for the women.
Yeah.
We didn't know. Now we understand the subtext of why the wife took the women and the husband took the men, because of, you know, allegations and things that were happening. So now it makes more sense.
Crazy.
But it was actually great. We, you know, a husband-wife team, an accomplished black belt competitor in the wife, and she was an awesome coach. And we had some days we had more women on the mat than men. And I'm talking about a night where it's just like 30 people on the mat on a Monday night, and it's just like 2/3 women.
That's awesome.
That was amazing. But then, you know, when the coach can't
control themselves,
you know, then it was like, why do we lose all these women? We have this world champion coach here, and it fell apart. So, all right, so we'll leave that there. Let's talk a little bit more about what you do, and, you know, so are you work? I mean, I would imagine these days you're doing a lot of things. Actually, I watched one of your Instagram videos where you talk about like onboarding and things like that. So somebody doesn't need to be in your backyard to work with you, right? You could be doing essentially, like, I don't want to call it telemed, but right, you could do video conferencing and Zooming, and you could be coaching and coming up with a plan for somebody for their own PT, correct?
Yeah. So basically we're all virtual right now, just because of the freedom, and it has been kind of challenging to find a place to really set our feet in the last couple of years. But virtual programming has been really good. Virtual rehab has been really good for me of just developing that skill. So basically what we do is, depending on whatever you need, we're able to set up an assessment. We do like a call first to see if we're a good fit. And then we do an assessment where we'll go through a bunch of movements from head to toe, covering everything from mobility to stability to strength, endurance, and kind of get a general view of what your body is able to do. During that process, we're also just monitoring your symptoms and seeing what the pain is telling us. And then from there, we build out a program, and we do things a little bit different than a traditional physical therapy practice, I guess, because a lot of practices are one-on-one sessions. They do them like weekly, but we kind of run off of a monthly programming type of structure where we do an assessment. We do a month of programming with updated exercises every week. We do frequent check-ins throughout the week. Also on the weekends, we do a more long weekend Sunday check-in. And then every single month, we jump on a video call to reassess, to answer any questions, to go through any new exercises, and then progress the program from there. So a lot of accountability, a lot of communication, and I've just found it to be a great way to help the client themselves almost find a bit of autonomy and a little bit of agency in their own journey. And then after, when we're done, it gives them that launching pad to be able to handle their own injuries in the future.
I'm assuming that you're mostly working within jiu-jitsu, but are you working with MMA fighters as well, or just anybody?
We're only working with jiu-jitsu athletes. So anything that's like a bit of a segue, wrestling, judo, but a lot of times their main practice is jiu-jitsu, and then they do a little judo on the side, a little wrestling on the side. Okay.
How about, so would you work with a martial arts fighter or an MMA fighter?
Yeah, we've worked with MMA fighters before, but most of our clients, if anything, I would say all of our clients right now are jiu-jitsu specific.
So if you focus primarily on the jiu-jitsu space, what are grapplers, I guess, in need of more so, like, that they would want a physio who is familiar with their movements and activities? So, like, do you see certain repetitive injuries, things that you're dealing with constantly, like over the entire spectrum? Or is it kind of, I guess, random in a way?
Yeah, I think the two things that I found to be some of the reasons that we've heard from people saying, oh, this is why it's valuable for them to have a jiu-jitsu specific physical therapist is, one, the language, because we'll have people come in and say, they went to their primary doctor, or they went to a different physical therapist and said, I was caught in 50-50 or in a like a K guard situation where I was going for the matrix and then I got stacked. And then the PT's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
What is that? The Matrix? What is?
Is this karate? Like I've never heard, And then so people or doctors won't even acknowledge it, and they basically will give them the advice.
Yeah, I ran into that a ton.
They just don't know. Right?
Yeah, they're like, just don't do that.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if this is my career.
It hurts when I do this, doc, right? That's the whole thing. Like, well, stop doing that. Stop doing that.
Or like a situation where someone is stacked and then they'll be like, well, then just don't get stacked. And you're like, wait, but that's not going to be possible to completely avoid,
That's just great advice.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the problem?
That's just as good as just stand up. Stand up.
Yeah. Again, very valid advice. If you were standing up, this wouldn't be happening.
Exactly. So, doctors, if anything, I always say, like, I always try to come from a bit of like a compassionate lens of it's not their fault that they're giving this advice. They just don't understand jiu-jitsu, and they might not have the time or the energy to really dig into it. And there are jiu-jitsu like MDs out there that do a much better job being able to help guide these clients get back to training. But same thing when it comes to PT is the language. The language is so important that when someone comes in and they're starting to explain to you how they got injured, what position they were in, and all that, it helps for the physical therapist to be like, okay, I know exactly where the pressure was on the knee. I know exactly what the pressure was on the shoulder. And then it gives us a good language to be able to have throughout the entire process of, hey, we need to get you back to this, and this is the reason why. So my explanations are a lot more geared towards jiu-jitsu and getting them back to whatever position that could potentially, put their knee in a vulnerable situation. So I think that's the first one. The second one that I found to be really common is, let's say you get up to a point where your body feels pretty strong and you feel pretty good. And then it's like, okay, let's have the conversation of getting back to training. And they're like, okay, how do I do that? So then having a plan of saying, okay, this week we're going to have you go back to X, Y, and Z. You're going to go back to train. You're going to update me after your first session. How did it go? And then we'll slowly ramp up the intensity. So from like warm-ups to drilling to specific training to flow rolling and then ultimately full training, there has to be a bit of an intention of how are we increasing the intensity? How are we increasing things? And we understand that it's not black and white. There's gray areas of how one person perceives 50% versus somebody else. So we just kind of go along, and that's why the communication is so important. So I think the first thing of the language behind jiu-jitsu and the language behind injuries in jiu-jitsu. And then the second part is just having a timeline and the guidance of how do I get back to training without feeling like a chicken with my head cut off,
Yeah. What is your take on, like, I've been watching a lot of Joe Rogan lately.
Who's that?
I usually or used to only listen to the funny stuff, like when he has a comedian on. But even when he has comedians, they talk about politics and things like that. Like, haven't been so interested in that side. But I've been on a run of like I found some good episodes that I've liked. But if like in watching that, it feels like every other day there's this new thing that we're supposed to be taking, that we're supposed to be doing, like cold plunging, and then the different things that we can do. Like I just got a stem cell treatment, and some of the other things that I'm going to be doing, like things that we've discussed. I'm like, what are your thoughts, Dr. Diana, on the state of? I would include it in some type, I guess, physical therapy. Like, this is part of my therapy. I went to get stem cells. I am going to do, other shots of other things, the whole alphabet soup of different things that I could be doing. I'm careful saying it because we get blocked on YouTube if I say any of the words. So I'm glazing over them. But what is your take on like every week there's something new? There's cold plunging. Then it was like, well, cold plunge after. Well, no, don't cold plunge after working out. Now you should cold plunge before. Do it in the morning. Like it changes every day. Give me your thoughts on just kind of the state of what I would call like the physical therapy or my ongoing physical therapy just to stay on the mat.
Yeah, I think it's tricky because it's kind of a complex question. As humans, we love novelty and we love things that are new. We love things that can promise us a faster recovery or something that it could be a shortcut. But unfortunately, those things always are relatively fleeting. They come and go, kind of like what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that there is no place in those in having those things in your routine or having those things along your process. But what I'm saying is, if your big rocks are not well maintained or your big rocks are not your main focus, then you're focusing on the wrong things.
Sure.
And a lot of the evidence is starting to show that the basics are what people need to focus on versus trying to find these shortcuts that we're mentioning of, the cold plunges, or even like the infrared, like what is it called? The red light therapy, or even CBD, all that kind of stuff. Like, again, those things are not bad. I think those may be helpful if, let's say, you really need them. And as long as you understand the narrative is really important. The story that you tell behind why you're doing something is really important. And it's something that we try to communicate a lot with our audience and with our clients, that if you are, for example, sleeping like 2 hours a night, your quality of sleep is terrible, you are not really eating well, you don't hydrate, you show up to training, you just go 100% every single day, and then your body is just always sore and achy.
That's champion stuff.
There are a lot of
right? That's champion stuff.
A lot of things that you can do that will make bigger differences in how your body feels on a regular basis versus having to go and be like, I need to cold plunge today. There are other things that you can do. And, that's a good point, is that a lot of competitors, they're putting their body through a lot of stress. So we have to figure out a better way of managing volume and intensity so that their body has opportunities to recover. And some of the best coaches in the world outside of jiu-jitsu, like in Olympic sports and in pro sports, they always talk about how you can only endure, or you can only handle as much as your body can recover from. So if the amount of stress that you're putting on your body, but you can't recover from that stress, then we're not going to be able to make meaningful progress, and your body's never going to be able to get to the place where you need it to be to perform at its highest level. So we try to take that down. Obviously, a lot of our clients are hobbyists and people who don't really care so much about competing, but just want to live a healthy life. We pull that back and we say, okay, well, if these people are trying to focus on this, let's take these couple action steps that can potentially help you feel a little bit better when you wake up in the morning, feel a little bit better after jiu-jitsu when you're playing with your kids, or even just having a daily better quality of life outside of their performance in jiu-jitsu.
When I roll out of bed in the morning after a night of training, or I've trained the previous evening, that's usually like, this is how my day's going to go. How much does this hurt right now? I did find, I really feel like I found that a cold shower after training, it's not a cold plunge. I don't have a cold plunge. I'm not going to fill a bathtub with ice every night.
I thought you listened to Joe Rogan.
Yeah. I do cold shower. I usually kind of, start it off regular, and then like by the end, it's as cold as it can get. And I do feel like when I wake up in the morning that I'm like, I feel better than I used to feel when I woke up after a really good training session. And then I also feel like, all right, I'm just rushing through. I got to go someplace else. Let me take a quick shower. I'm not worried about the cold. I've just felt better in the morning. I watched Chris Helmsworth did I think he's still doing it. He's doing a series. I think it's on Prime or one of the kind of, it's either Apple or Prime, where he did maybe even Hulu. He did a show where he was like doing these extreme activities. And then one of them was about like swimming in ice water, or, the kind of the cold plunge side of things. And at the end of it, he was like advised like, hey, if you can't do the cold plunge, run yourself for 30 seconds under cold water at the end of a shower. And it's like, this is going to help. And whatever the reasoning behind it is, I don't remember all that stuff, but I was like, I started to do it after that. And I just started to feel I feel like my muscles are less sore. That's essentially what I feel like it did for me. Am I crazy, Dr. Diana?
No, I think there is some research that shows that the cold exposure does benefit the body. I think one thing that might help you, because like after training, when you go home, you're about to go to sleep, one of the main things that your body needs to do in order for you to get good quality sleep is your body temperature needs to drop to a certain point so you can fall into the deeper levels of sleep. So maybe the cold shower helps your body get into that state, and then also allows your opportunities to kind of get into that deeper sleep, which is ultimately going to affect your recovery.
Okay. Is there anything that you suggest, when you're working with somebody, are you suggesting things like you listed like CBD? I'm talking about cold plunging, TRT, stem cell. I mean, are these conversations that you get into with people, or is it truly just the physical side? I'm going to help them recover with using their body, or are there suggestions that you have for either older players or people that are hurt, and you get into those other things like you should be taking this? And I'm hearing so much about creatine again. I was taking creatine when I was in my early 20s when I worked out, and now it's this thing like, you're not taking creatine.
Everyone should be taking
those
creatine.
Those things are back. What are your thoughts on that kind of stuff, Dr. Anna? And are you recommending any of those things, on a case by case basis?
Yeah, there's a certain point where it's important for me to refer out to a different doctor, but I think we do have certain conversations like that mostly with like stem cells. If it comes to testosterone, then a lot of times I'll tell them, like, listen to their symptoms, whatever they're feeling, have them go talk to their own primary care physician or somebody in their wellness space that can give them a better like suggestion or advice on that. Just because I know as men age after 30, I think your testosterone starts to drop, and that can affect a lot of things. And I'm no expert in that, so I want to make sure that I can refer somebody to that if they need it. And I found a lot of clients who get these the treatment, the TRT treatment, as they get older, that they're able to feel better on a regular basis. So that's something that I have like early conversations with, and then have them kind of take off with it with their own doctors. In terms of stem cells and PRP, I've had conversations with that with clients. It kind of just depends on what stage of the rehab we're in. Mm-hmm. If it's still early and they're like trying everything, throwing everything at their injury or whatever it's going on, then I'll usually tell them, let's hold off on that until we're able to make a little bit more progress, because the evidence behind the stem cells and the PRP is kind of like mixed in certain ways. And there are, obviously, if you're looking into the evidence, it depends on where you're looking. You'll probably find research studies that heavily support versus or don't support a specific treatment. But in my experience, I've had people who have done PRP stem cells and it does nothing for them. And then I've had people who have done PRP and stem cells and it does really well for them. So it's really hard to be able to highly suggest it until I know that we have really exhausted all of our resources where we don't need those things. So
gotcha.
Outside of that, in terms of nutrition, I'm not a nutritionist, so I only give like very basic advice of the things that you could probably find on Google or talking through friends. But I do think that creatine has been spoken about a lot more just because it's the most highly researched supplement out there right now and has a lot of evidence towards having positive effects on the body. So most of the time when people ask me, like personally, I take just whey protein powder and creatine, and that's it.
Okay. I do whey protein. I do an organic protein. Were you joking around, Ben, when you just said you're not taking creatine? Or is it something that you take?
Yeah. Okay. Are you sure?
Hold on. Let me get my list.
All right.
By the way, I've like started to take down some of the, like I've been getting away from some of the things that I've been taking because I feel like I'm just taking so much stuff. Like
stuff I take is like very natural. Red rice yeast for cholesterol.
Okay.
Shiitake mushroom.
Is that gut health?
That's cholesterol.
Cholesterol. Okay.
D3, B12, creatine. What's the one for your
pre-workout?
No, it's collagen. Collagen.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
CLA, fish oil. Very basic. Very like as close to nature as possible.
Yeah.
I don't like anything too chemically.
Yeah. Like I said, I stopped taking some stuff, but I'm like, I just kind of, I feel like, full disclosure, I'm doing TRT. Ben, we've been open about you.
I'm not doing it. I am living it. Yeah.
We're 50, going to be 52 next month.
I turned 43 the day before yesterday.
I mean, I wish that I would have started sooner. I kind of I
wish I started in my teens.
I wish I would have started a little sooner, but it's the one thing that I feel like I've gotten the best results from. At least, that's not recovery, but just like, I guess,
it
more
definitely is
daily maintenance. I mean that just getting into the gym, feeling stronger, more motivated. Though, obviously, other things.
Just like,
You got it, Christian. You're not getting this, Christian. You got to get this on camera. Like, I was
late now,
flexing.
buddy.
Jeez, gotta give him another flex, bro. He didn't get that. You know? Yeah, oh, look at the gun show. Oh, Jesus. Oh, there we go. So yeah, we're. I have thought about getting back on the creatine again. I guess it really is. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not immune to it. It's the Joe Rogan effect.
Well,
I
so
am hearing. I'm hearing this stuff over and over, and I'm like, okay, well, let me try that.
At the end of the day,
you know?
creatine is cheap and it's effective in terms of like competitors, fighters, people in combat sports, even like getting taken down, bumped to the head. 5 milligrams of creatine a day reduces your chances of getting a concussion dramatically.
Doesn't it help with recovery?
It helps with recovery. So it funnels water to muscles. It makes your muscles look more full, but it keeps water in your body. So that's why it lowers the likelihood of concussion. Because remember, your brain sits in water inside your skull. The concussion is the skull and the brain making contact and creating basically a bruise on the brain. Okay. The more fluid you have, the more cushion it has, the less likely you are to get a blunt impact.
Okay. We have a doctor on the show. Is that correct? Did he just say that correctly? I'm going to defer to a doctor. Nailed it.
It just keeps water in your body. It helps everything.
Not that you've convinced me, Doctor, that between you and Ben, you saying that you do whey protein and creatine, that's it.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to be adding the creatine again. I've kind of taken away some of the supplements, but yeah, I mean, yes, call it the Rogan effect. I've been hearing it so much. I'm just like, am I supposed to be doing creatine now? Like, but I've also heard it from other places.
Creatine's not the Rogan
effect.
effect.
Creatine when I was a kid, like working
it
out. It was like
50s or 60s or something.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's been around forever. Yeah.
What did you say, Dr. Diana? It's one of the most researched.
It is the
supplements.
Most researched.
Okay.
It has zero negative effects.
Can I
registered.
can I mainline it?
I mean, I just put it in my coffee.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. All right. So I guess I'm doing that now.
Do it.
Let me, Dr. Dana. We're talking about all this stuff. We do have a sponsor that I did my stem cells with, so I'm just going to do this shout out real quick. So, Leheal Biogenix. So they have 3 locations in Florida. They have Lakeland, Brandon, and South Tampa, Florida. I know they're opening a 4th location. I don't know that we have spoken about it yet. And look, a lot of people, including you, we don't have to say the place, but you went to Mexico for stem cells. We convinced, but a training partner of mine went to the same place
my
in
good
Mexico.
results have sent a good handful of people there, and a friend of ours had a hard go of it.
He definitely had a hard time, but you don't have to go to Mexico to do this. We know that rolling every day can be tough on the body, but pain doesn't have to hold you back. At Leheal Biogenix, they empower jiu-jitsu practitioners, just like the people listening, to recover faster, train harder, and achieve peak performance with the power of regenerative medicine. They're helping athletes stay on the mat and stay on top of their game. So again, if you're not local, just like Dr. Diana's doing, they're doing essentially video chats, and I saw you have like a platform that they can put information into, Dr. Diana, right? Like they can respond to you, and you're working through a platform. We could talk about that in a minute. But again, for them, if you're not local, it's not a problem. You can schedule a free telephone consult. The process is easy with same-day treatments. As a matter, they called me to check up on me today post-cruise, and I'm supposed to be doing the BPC 157 and then the TB500. So I'm going to be talking to them about that and getting it shipped out. So that I wanted to wait till after I didn't want to start shooting and then be away, and I didn't know what the shooting schedule was going to be. But they're treating hundreds of professional and amateur warriors. Leheal Biogenix has truly become the go-to resource for the fighting community when it comes to recovery and healing. If you reach out to them, if you go to Leheal.com, Leheal.com, let them know that you heard about them on the podcast, and you get 20% off of your first treatment. I've sent them 2 local referrals recently. Hey, picture time. I sent them 2 referrals recently from South Florida. One, my coach, he ripped a bicep muscle, and he was like, I got to go get surgery. And I'm like,
no, you don't.
Wait a minute. Before you do, just reach out, talk to them, see what's up. It's, I feel super comfortable. I did the red light therapy. I did the stem cells in my back. I did, laser therapy. And now I'm going to be doing the BPC 157 and what is it called? I always forget.
TB500.
TB500. So
Wolverine protocol.
again, reach out, Leheal.com, Leheal.com. Stacy and her team are incredible. So thank you. And thank you for your patience again, Dr. Diana. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about, like, there was a name to the platform that I heard in the video. I didn't write it down, but tell us a little bit more how you go back and forth, right? You're allowing them to go online and then kind of report back data. So you're not just picking up the phone after everybody trains and say, okay, fill me in, right? There's a place for you to do this in a dashboard, correct?
Yeah, we use an app called Everfit, and it's basically like a personal training app that one of my good friends recommended to me when I was looking for a better app for our clients. And basically what we do is we go in there, again, we do our assessment, and then we start to create a program for them. Every week I update the program based off of their feedback on Sundays about how their week has been going. The nice thing about the app is that one of the biggest struggles that I've been a PT for, this year would be 8 years. So it's been a while. And one of the biggest things that I hear people struggle with when it comes to following through with any type of rehab program is exactly that, which is having a hard time with consistency, accountability, falling off a program. So having an app where people can just open on their phone, their program is right there for them. It has sets, reps, videos, instructions from me of whatever specifically they need. All they have to do is click start, and then they just can kind of go through it. Makes it a lot easier. Plus, they can do it anytime throughout their week. It doesn't have to be constrained to like being in a specific setting. So that has been really nice of having people be able to be consistent and be take accountability for their own journey. And then also being able to have all the communication points that we have during our workouts, after the workouts, and then also every single week. I get a good feel of how their body's responding, and then I can continue to move them along the path in the right direction. So yeah, also when we talk about getting them back to training, it's important to get feedback because I have to know how their body handled that stress. And a lot of times we don't know that until 24 hours, 48 hours after their actual session sometimes. And I used to work in a traditional PT setting, so I know that if I saw a client or patient, I wouldn't see them for maybe another week. And during that week, a lot of things could be happening, but I have no idea what is going on. And then they come in and they're like, oh, right after our session, something happened. And I'm like, if I had an opportunity to know that, we could have adjusted things quickly. So the way that we kind of run things now is to be able to try to catch things that come up quickly, adjust on the fly, and that way we can get back on track as quickly as possible versus wasting time. So I love the app that we use. It's very user-friendly. It is pretty like technologically driven. I think they're a tech company first, then like a wellness company second. So they're very responsive to all the things that we need.
So you mentioned that you used to work full-time as a PT or in an office?
Yeah. So when I first graduated in 2017, I worked at a traditional insurance-based clinic for a little over a year. And then it was not the best experience. And I felt like
I'm out of here. Right. One of those.
Yeah, I had like a crisis of like, oh my gosh, am I gonna die here? It was just super dramatic. But I was just like, as a PT student, I was so excited. I wanted to work and I wanted to help people. But in that specific environment, I felt like it was they didn't care about us very much. The management didn't care about the physical therapist and what our needs were. All they wanted for us was to see like 15 to 20 people a day, make sure that we build as high as we possibly could so they can make as much money as they possibly could. And like, I was young and I think I got caught up in the promises, but I'm not an idiot. So if I see that you're telling me to do all these things that are unethical, I'm going to push back. And they didn't like the fact that I pushed back. So after a year, I quit, tried to start my own thing. COVID hit. That was like a big change for all of us, which shut down. And then I ended up working at a chiropractor clinic in Beverly Hills for about a year. That was a totally different experience, but it really made me a much better clinician. And then after that, I kind of was like, I need to bet on myself again. I need to do this. And at that time, I was already training jiu-jitsu, maybe like 3 years in. I loved it. And I said, why not just mesh the two and really serve the jiu-jitsu community where they really, really need it.
What was the difference between those two jobs, those two offices? I don't know where the first one was, but when you said Beverly Hills, I immediately see like woman walking in with a dog in her bag, like, oh, my shoulder hurts from all the not vacuuming? What, like, you know, what?
Yeah.
Like, what was that experience like? And was it
My
like that?
shopping
Like,
bags
oh
were
my
too
God, these are
heavy.
like high net worth individuals that want to be babied. Like, what was the experience?
Totally. So my first job, it was in South Orange County. So it wasn't in a spot where it wasn't affluent. It was a very affluent area too,
Okay.
but under the structure of insurance base is a little bit different. So the environment is more traditional. I saw a client or a patient every 20 minutes. You basically have 20 minutes with each person to touch base with them, see how they feel, and then they get moved on to work with an aide. I don't know if you guys have been to like a regular PT place, but that's typically how it works.
Yep.
Like a assistant will just take you through the exercises. You kind of can watch them from afar as the physical therapist. And I just remember being really overwhelmed in that setting just because I couldn't give my proper attention to these people. And as much as people are able to use their insurance, it was hard for me to provide the quality of care that I felt like I should give to these people who are coming in trusting me with their health. So that was something internally that I battled a lot. And a lot of the ending conversations with leaving that job came down to that. The second place that I worked at was the owner was a really well-known chiropractor. He's like a legend in the world. And at that time, because I was self-employed or maybe even unemployed, he saw that I like was in a place where I could really help grow his business. So in Beverly Hills, the structure was a bit different because he was all cash. So no insurance, no like he never had to deal with that. And it was basically like a premium type of service where they came in and we spent an hour and a half with each person. It was very, very exclusive to some people in the area. We also did some house calls, but again, it was all very like a premium service. And we did get people that came in that were, you know, the high end real estate luxury, you know, like developers and agents, and we got some celebrities and all that in there. So if anything, my biggest lesson from that place was learning how to manage chronic pain. Most of these people came in with a lot of chronic issues, high stress environments, a lot of their body needing to understand how to manage this. And if anything, it made me a much better communicator when it came to being a PT, and then also allowed me to segue really well into jiu-jitsu, which similarly, people are in high stress environments. Like jiu-jitsu is a high stress sport and hobby. And a lot of times when we're stacking injury on top of that, there has to be the conversation of how do we manage the stress better so your body can feel a little bit better, which can then allow us to get you back into that environment. So it's kind of like a full circle moment, but I really attribute the Beverly Hills job to how much better I became as a physical therapist and my thought process and critical thinking, because there was like so much on the line, a lot of skin in the game when you're working with like people who are paying you a lot of money to see you.
Wow. That sounds like an office for you. Very famous people.
I mean, it's where I belong, if we're being honest. You know, with my peers, my celebritants.
Okay, are you allowed to say like any of the big celebrity names, or would that be
Crocodile Dundee?
Would we be
No,
breaking HIPAA
yeah.
regulations?
HIPAA, but I will say like some actors, I've been to some like actors and actresses homes in Beverly Hills, and some like that's really big finance guy from New York City. Like we can't really say who it is, but it's really interesting once you start to work with people like that. You're like, oh, this is the behind the scenes. This is the reality of the personalities of these types of people.
Yeah.
So question. So because we are so jiu-jitsu oriented, right? Do you find that within your therapies, you have to make adjustments to like the modalities or how you have them perform for the awkwardness that you kind of torque your body into in jiu-jitsu?
For sure. For sure. I think in jiu-jitsu, there are certain demands of the body. Like your body has to be able to access deeper ranges of motion. It has to be able to be strong in those ranges of motion. You have to be able to build joint resilience. So how much your joint is able to handle stress. These are all things that I think sometimes you don't have to think about in other sports. If anything, there are other demands in other sports that people focus on. But in jiu-jitsu, we definitely try to be a little bit more mindful to what are the qualities that you need for performance, but then also what are the qualities that you need to be able to handle the day-to-day stress of that repetitive movements in jiu-jitsu. So yeah, absolutely. We make adjustments based off of that for sure. And also based off of how the person got injured, what body part, and then their history of how long they've been training.
I imagine like when you're rolling, okay, slap bump, and then somebody's in front of you, Dr. Diana, and they're like, yeah, hey, doc, my shoulder's been bothering me. Like you're supposed to be rolling and they're already telling you, like, my shoulder's been bothering me a little bit. Like, do you get into like a consultation right there on the mat?
Yeah, like
or do you get pulled into that every once in a while?
Yeah, that happens all the time. I think sometimes people will just be like, hey, I have a quick question for you. And I always welcome questions.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the reasons why Open Mat Physio was created, was to be able to be a resource. So if I can answer the question for you in a way that I feel like, okay, we're not crossing any lines of turning it into an assessment, because that is something that we require a different time to do that, then I will provide as much, answering or as much advice as I possibly can.
So how, if say, I don't know, well, you can't see Christian, so I can't use him as an example, but you have a big gentleman like myself versus like an Imanari, but we have the same injury.
I thought he was going to say versus Christian, who's really tiny and
right, but you can't see him. So
feeble looking.
I assume most people know what Imanari looks like, and they know that he's very like limber and wacky inflatable arm guy. But like, would you approach an identical injury in the same way, coming from like a tighter, I guess, boxier, doesn't move as well, versus like, the wacky inflatable arm guy?
No, definitely not. Everybody has a different body structures. So your bone structure is going to be different. The way that you move is going to be different. So that's why a lot of what we do is based off your function. So we put your body through an entire full body assessment. And then we take a look at how your spine moves, how your limbs move, how you can handle certain positions. And the likelihood of you guys being identical is very, very low. So it's going to be really based off of how you move and then how he moves. And then that's how we start to differentiate what kind of program is right for you. It's also always going to be based off your body and your history of the things that you've gone through, and then also your current function.
Are you in situations where you're advising people before an injury? Like, hey, you're new blue belt or new white belt, 40 years old, new white belt, male or female. Are you having discussions with people like, hey, this is how you want to stay healthy? Or are you also giving advice in that realm?
Yeah, so that's mostly what our seminars are. A lot of our seminars that we do all around California. Sometimes recently I just taught one in Taiwan, which was really cool.
Oh, what city?
And Taipei. So we're just
nice.
in Taipei.
Okay.
Yeah, my family's from there, and I was visiting for a couple weeks, and it just so happened that the school that I went to teach a seminar, they were free, and I think we had 17 people there, which was pretty cool.
Which gym
and
were you
I got to practice my Mandarin a little bit.
Awesome. Which gym were you at?
PMA.
Okay. My wife's from Taichung.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was out there. Their jiu-jitsu scene's growing really, really fast in Taiwan.
Really?
Yeah,
fast.
Jason Chen is like kind of their international representative.
Okay.
He's he's really hot. He's been at B team for a minute now. But Jason Chen?
Joseph Chen?
Joseph?
Is it Joseph?
I'm not.
Yeah, Joseph Chen.
Joseph Chen. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've got your Instagram up in the back. You got a picture with Joseph there, right?
I did. Yeah, he came to LA to teach a seminar.
Yeah.
Joseph. Yeah, Joseph.
My bad.
Yeah, but so it was really cool. So in our seminars, a lot of times, so much of what we try to educate people on are some of these preventative things, the things that you can minimize your risk of injury. But you know how we all are as humans, we listen, and sometimes it goes in through one ear and goes out the other one.
I'm offended. Me? I listen to all advice.
What?
So I mean, I'm like that too. So it's almost like what we want to try to do is just get as much exposure out there. Hey, this is what is happening. This is the most updated evidence. We want to at least start to get the thought process going. And if anything, just plant a seed of, hey, if your goal is longevity, here are a couple things to think about. Nothing super complicated. You don't have to go and like spend all this money to, get all these treatments. You have to just focus on the basic things first. And if those things come later, then maybe we can think about it. But for now, here are a couple strategies. And during our seminars, we try to give action steps that you can do like that night. So improving your sleep, things that you can do there. figuring out how to manage your schedule when it comes to training jiu-jitsu or lifting, you can start there. So all of these things are very, very tangible, but we definitely have that conversation a lot because my goal is for people to get less injured. And if you are injured, then we can help you get back to training. But even after that, I don't want you to come back with another injury. That's like, if that happened, then either we messed up or it is something that we need to dive a little bit deeper into.
How do things differ between, I guess, regenerative and preventative? You know, because coming to you with an injury is one thing, but then, I mean, grapplers are always, I mean, we're known to be pretty hard on ourselves physically. So
totally,
you got to keep up, you got to do your maintenance. How do your programs, I guess, differ? Like I'm not injured right now. I want to stay that way. So
sure.
How does that look versus like, ooh, I blew my back out?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things is pain. You're going to be feeling your symptoms. I think that is, in my opinion, the biggest limiting factor in getting somebody back to function a lot of times is pain. So the difference is that in the beginning, when it comes to dealing with like a rehab situation, we're going to be trying to do the assessment, but pain may be involved. So that's going to be a tricky part of being able to manage that. Once your body feels better, then we have an opportunity to move closer into that strength and conditioning, the longevity, the resilience type of training that we typically would say is a little bit closer to like a maintenance program. So the biggest difference would be pain, but ultimately it comes down to assessing your function. So if your function with pain is like this, then we need to handle it like this. If you don't have any pain and you're just looking for a maintenance program, then we still look at your function and then we try to create goals and things that we want to get you to. So the main difference would be pain.
What is the biggest mistake that you see, let's say, new competitors making, or not, let's just say competitors, that's the wrong, just practitioners, jiu-jitsu practitioners in general. What's the biggest mistake that you see people making either when they're just getting on the mat or when they're on the mat training?
I think the biggest mistake that jiu-jitsu athletes make is not managing their volume and intensity, is going pahada every single day. And I think that as well as intention that is of like, I just need to go hard. If I go hard, my body will adapt. If I go hard, my body will adapt. Unfortunately, our bodies don't work like that. We have a certain limit of what your body can handle before it starts to give you some signs like discomfort, fatigue, soreness, things like that. And then if you push it past that limit, then you can put yourself at risk of injury. So most of the time, what we try to do, and like I've studied under a lot of PTs and strength coaches who have coached at the highest level. They work with, again, the pro athletes and the Olympic athletes, and they all have the same mindset. So I figured, okay, if they treat these athletes who are at the highest caliber of their sport, then it makes sense to have that conversation with my community. Okay. But a lot of times it comes down to being able to manage your intensity on a regular basis where you have your high days, you have your low days, you have your intense days, and then you have your recovery days. That's the only way that over a long period of time, you're going to be able to sustain a consistent effort in order to make progress versus having 4 days of just super intense training and then having one day where you're like, I'm totally like depleted. Yeah. And then like take off like 3 days and then go back up and come back down. So the strategy is more so being intentional about your time on the mat and understanding how to toggle those knobs.
Yeah. I know one of the things that I see more often than not is just like people don't stretch. They literally like walk in from the car. Now, somebody might look at when I show up, most of the time I've laid out some mats in my living room and I've warmed up, I've stretched before I get to the gym. So if I do get to the gym and somebody doesn't see me warm, I've done it at the house.
You're one in a million.
But I have to, I can't, because you know what happens? If I don't do it at the house and I go to the gym, even with, 20 minutes early, because I'm going to stretch when I get there, and then you get caught up in a conversation, and then somebody wants to talk to you, and then you're trying to stretch, and somebody's like, hey, man, show me this, and then you get, so I have to do it at home so that I know that when I get there, I could just jump in, quote unquote cold, but I'm not. But I know everybody's not doing that, and guys show up like, oh, late, they're changing out of their work. I know they didn't stretch, and then they're just like on the mat. Again, I'm bad at not. I should be stretching after. All right, I mean, Dr. Diana, I'll defer to you, but you heard so many good things about stretching after. I again, sometimes it's just like we're all chatting. They start to clean the mats right away. It's the last class of the day, and I'm like, man, it'd be great to get in a stretch right now. And then I don't do that when I get home. But do you see the benefits in obviously stretching before? But what are the benefits of stretching after?
I think in terms of before, you make a good point of it helps you feel better, and you can help like your training is a little bit higher quality. I think part of that comes into just waking up the nervous system, because a lot of times that when we are sitting at a desk at work or have a long busy day, our bodies get to a point where you need a little bit of a hey, let's get ready for this really intense activity. So stretching or even like a short warm up can be really good to help people prep for that. Afterwards, I think there are benefits just because your body's warm. So being able to get into some deeper ranges of motion. We have a conversation that is so much aligned to how our nervous system processes our body that it is important, because whatever it allows you to do is whatever you're going to be able to do. So if your body doesn't feel safe in, let's say, a lot of specific positions, then it's going to give you signs of discomfort, tightness, pain. And if we can start to become friends or listen to our nervous system in a positive way and also give it what it needs, then a lot of times it'll give us what we need. So afterwards, if you can access deeper ranges of motion, it teaches your body, hey, this is actually an okay position for me to be in. And hopefully that translates into when you train. So that's something where when people talk about tightness, that is a conversation that we have. Is it's not so black and white of like, if I'm tight, I just need to stretch. There's a lot of components that come with how your nervous system processes certain information. Are you sedentary all day? Are you not allowing your body to recover? These are all things that play a big role into why someone can feel stiff and tight and achy all the time. And that's why it's important to like dive into it, because it's not such a clear-cut answer that sometimes we see on social media of, if your hip is tight, just stretch it. But that's not as simple as we wish, right? It's like, if that was the case, then nobody would ever have hip tightness. Is because, well, if this one stretch helped, then you could just do the stretch and it wouldn't, your hip wouldn't feel tight anymore.
Yeah, but you got to do it all the time.
I know, like literally at work and at jiu-jitsu and during your training sessions like that, it might help for temporary relief, but there's so much that comes with why our body is the way that it is, and it is more complex than we think. So we have to be mindful of that and also be able to open up like the discussion of what is actually a better solution to this problem.
So as someone who works with like structural integrity of the body, what are the positions that you see in the grappling room that you're just like, I'm just going to give you my card now?
I'm going to say right now, just being inverted.
Inversion all day. I cringe when I see it sometimes. Like, oh, you're doing such damage to yourself.
Yeah, don't do it. You want to be doing this till you're older, just don't do that. But go ahead.
No, the positions of like deep neck flexion, spine flexion for sure is something that's very unique to jiu-jitsu. So when someone's in that position for too long, I'm like even if I'm in that position, I don't really like it. I'll just concede position, because I'm like, I don't really like being in this such an extreme position. I know it's a part of it, but I'm like, nah, I'd rather not put my body at risk.
Yeah.
And then also just some deeper like hip rotation or knee rotation positions that if you're in there for too long, then you can tell that the ligaments are being like something's happening
that
there.
Eddie Bravo Hoyler vaporizer knee lock in their second match.
Those things, I'm like, okay, if I get into a funky position, which I think is my benefit of being a PT when I train, is when I get into weird positions that I'm like, I don't feel comfortable here because I feel structurally or the joint itself should not hang out in this position. I just concede. And it's more of just a knowledge of knowing that, hey, first of all, I'm not a competitor. I don't really have any dreams of competing at all. And my only goal is just to be able to get better at jiu-jitsu, hang out with my friends. And so if I get into a weird position in a roll, my instinct of just conceding so I don't hurt myself is much higher. And so I'd rather get into a different position and get swept or something instead of putting myself in danger and fighting out of a position that I know I don't want to be in. So
the scariest move that I ever see is when somebody gets suplexed. on like a
Oh my God.
jiu-jitsu mat or an
Don't watch
cage,
my
and
fights,
it's like
bro.
dropped on their neck. That I don't know how that is legal in any sport. How many
So,
times you see them
okay.
getting dropped right on their head?
So it's stunning. I've been blessed to be able to train with Olympic wrestlers in both Greco and
You've got
freestyle.
a coach.
Yeah.
You've got
And
an accomplished coach.
yes,
wrestling coach
very
at your
much
school.
so.
Yeah.
And when they throw you, it doesn't feel like how it is. Like I'm telling you,
It doesn't
every
feel how it looks.
no,
No.
like every
But
time
still,
I've
you're
been thrown,
landing on your neck or your
No.
head. No.
so you land most of the time. So like my coach was Jason Kelly. I got to work with like
I know.
Daryl Golar and
Jason.
Steve Mako, like high end guys. We had a couple Cuban Olympians come in, and these guys are throwing me. The Cubans, I didn't even hit the floor. I didn't touch the floor at all
No.
until I was laid down, and all of them I landed like a gentle shoulder roll.
But it's that you can't depend on that.
Yeah.
Right?
But
You
that's
can't
also
depend on
style.
your-
The modern era, guys are doing rock bottoms. They're putting you in the floor.
Hmm.
Like, I guess, about 15 years ago. So the wrestlers that were wrestling 5-10 years before that, it was more finesse. They
Okay.
were cycling through, scoring points, and making it look cool and walking off. Not trying to like.
I
break
mean,
their ass.
I respectfully,
It's my best throw. I love suplexing
Oh,
people.
yeah, you.
Oh,
Do
big
you
fan.
suplex people at your gym? Are you suplexing
More-
students?
So at my advanced age now, it's laterals and foot sweeps.
Okay.
But when I was fighting, it was all 4-point throws.
Yeah, over the shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary. When I see that, I mean, as soon as it's just, it's like a guy getting kicked in the privates. It's like when I see that
Good
move,
time.
I'm like,
Sick.
oh, it's just, it's rough to see somebody getting dropped on their head like that. I'm like, is that are they gonna die? Like, I mean, how much damage are they putting on their neck? I mean,
Too much.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. That's the scariest move that I see.
Like when Rose Namajunas
You could come
fought,
back
what's her
from
name?
so many different things,
Yeah.
but breaking your neck, not so
Sabu
much.
did it.
Who's that?
He was a pro
Oh
wrestler.
yeah, I came back from a broken neck.
One every week, actually.
All right, Dr. Diana, we're going to get into what we call our drill down. So we're going to get ready to start wrapping things up. But we have a group of questions that we ask at the end of every episode. These are the most commonly asked questions from our listeners, and we call it
The drill down.
Go. You're better than both sound effects. All right, so I'm going to go down these
Now
questions
Bo's
real
going to be
quick.
mad at me.
Yeah, right. He still puts in his own. The drill down. He puts in his own sound. So we're going to go down these questions, and you can elaborate on any of the answers if you'd like. So we're going to start off with your preference, gi or no gi. I see you in both on Instagram. So
Recently, more no-gi. I think it's something that I'm trying to get better at. But
Mhm.
if I really did have a preference in general, I would say the gi. I love the gi.
okay. There you go. Whoop whoop. Takedown or pull guard
Take
or,
down
or
for
suplex.
sure.
Oh wait, let's add or suplex.
Definitely not a suplex.
What is your
but-
takedown of choice?
So, I mean, I didn't start training takedowns until maybe a year ago. I like it's very simple, like ankle pick or single leg, things like that, where it's an easier entry than other specific takedowns.
Nice.
You ain't wrong.
Blast double leg.
No, like I remember when I was a higher end blue belt, I went from hey, this is what I've been trained on, this is what I'm good at, to how much crazy shit can I do?
Yeah.
What works? What can I just
Yeah.
throw and see what happens?
When I trained a lot of takedowns, my first coach, we did train a lot of takedowns my first 2 years, and then it went to more like my second coach had a bad back, so he taught a lot of pulling guard. But I would do a double leg, but then I would take my outside leg and bring it around and
A
hook
Navy
the
hook.
leg. Is that what it's called?
It's called Navy hook.
Navy
yeah.
hook. It was always
It's
my
great.
favorite. Usually just because of this the size of the mat or how many people are training, it's really hard to okay, I'm gonna do this double leg.
Yeah.
You're gonna bang into people, right? So it's just I don't get to practice it as much. My old school big mats, less students was able to do it, or at least the first school. So that's I haven't talked about my favorite takedown because I'm always I'm a guard puller. I'm a guard puller. All right. So favorite submission, Dr. Diana.
Heel hook, right?
Probably a triangle.
I would think it would be more something where she
No.
gets some business out of it.
She is a woman.
The injury that she she
The
gives
classics. She's a woman of culture. The triangle.
There you go.
You can never go wrong.
Music during rolling, yes or no?
Yes.
Music preference if you're controlling the dial. Dated myself by saying dial.
You know, if I had a choice, this is funny because I was thinking about this recently, is if my coach let me do it, and I would, if I didn't care about anybody else, I would pick like the recent or the most modern like girly pop music, like Sabrina Carpenter, like Taylor Swift.
Don't
like,
stop,
that kind
get
of
it
vibe.
hot, DJ, blow
It's
my
just-
speakers up.
It's just so fun. It's like, let's have a fun vibe while we're rolling.
I love it when
Milton's a K-pop guy. I don't wanna lie to you.
Hey Christian, don't forget some pictures, please. When I've controlled the dial, I would usually just put it on a good mix. I loved it though when something came up, like somebody put their like a Spotify on or just a playlist, but then the most odd like song comes, like an embarrassing like kiddie song like came on in the mix, even though it's just like reggae, and then freaking, so like you said, like Sabrina Carpenter came. It was, I don't know, like Justin Timberlake song comes on or something, just like more lovey-dovey. I don't know.
You guys
come
have
on.
a hard
I just always thought that was
Last
funny.
night I did 3 hours of Weird Al Yankovic.
Did you do? Are you
Yeah.
serious?
Yeah, 100%. I was like, deal with that, sucker.
But if my go-to, I love all music, so I just like a good mix, and then I do love like 90s hip hop and R&B. Like that's the go-to.
Of course.
I'm like,
of course.
it's so easy to throw something on and be like, everybody knows something. It's just like right there in the middle of, like not in the middle of the age range, but like the youngsters still get it. Or they'll hear something that's like, oh, that's the original song to this song. I've heard that music, but
That's
love
changing. I had Wu-Tang on the other week, and someone was like, oh, man, who's this? And I was like, bro, get out right now.
All right. It's one of those.
That's how you know. That's how you know.
Dr. Diana, what would you be doing if you had, I usually say if you hadn't found martial arts, but if you weren't doing PT, if you weren't a doctor of physical therapy, what would you be doing?
Death metal.
Was there another love that you had in your life?
I think I probably would have either gone into something psychology based
Mhm.
or gone into some sort of teaching, because I love learning about people. I love learning about sociology, psychology, how the brain works. And so much of PT requires us to understand how people function when they've gone through something traumatic like an injury, how they come back from that. It's so much of like wearing multiple hats to help people work through not just physical issues, but also mental issues.
Gotcha.
And then teaching wise, I just love being able to spread knowledge and being able to create something digestible to create complex problems, to take complex problems and create something digestible so people can understand. So I think those two things would probably be where I would have gone.
Okay. All right. Or I should say, do you watch a lot of content online? Are you somebody that's consuming? I see that you're creating content, obviously, in your space. Are you watching instructionals? Are you keeping an eye on what other doctors are talking about? Or are you kind of like a little bit more post and ghost?
I definitely consume, I think, in a way where I go through seasons of watching instructionals, and I go through seasons of being really, really, really excited about jiu-jitsu, and then some seasons where I'm like, I just want to go train and like not really think about it afterwards. So that's that side. But when it comes to content, I'm always trying to stay on top of social media just to see what some of the trends are, not in a way of like following those trends, but just seeing certain creative ways that people are creating content and then using that to inspire our content. And but yeah, like not really, I guess everyone's like chronically online nowadays, but yeah, I try to manage my social media consumption as much as I can.
Yeah.
So what is your jiu-jitsu game like? Like, what's your go-to game?
I typically play in terms of passing, I really enjoy loose passing. So any type of like getting good grips and then some sort of like back step or like just getting around the knees. And then when I play on bottom, I typically play like a collar sleeve, double sleeve type of position.
And she said she's more no-gi. All she's talking about are grips and sleeves. We know the truth.
I know.
We know.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, I need to start playing more no-gi. In no-gi, I have no idea what I'm doing. The only thing that I know that I enjoy about no-gi is the fact that people can hold me a little bit. It's harder to hold people, so you can like move around a little bit more.
Just remember, if
it's more
they're
dynamic.
holding on to you, you can hold on to them.
That's really true, actually.
Mhm.
That's very true.
Profound.
Yeah, I try.
Even,
I try.
right? I believe it or not, let me throw in one here. Believe it or not, my favorite pass, cartwheel pass. 50 plus years old. I swear to God, I do
Let's
a
go.
really nice cartwheel pass.
How effective is it though? Like percentage wise?
Because it's not expected. I would say 75%.
That's a very
You know?
high number.
I mean, I literally can do a regular cartwheel, full legs extended up in the air.
Mhm.
For jujitsu, you don't have to throw your legs as
Yeah.
high. You just need to get past the knee.
The hips,
But
yeah.
I mean, I'm literally just trying to get to the other side, but I will do a cartwheel right over somebody. One of my old coaches, he put the security footage of me doing, I purposely kind of did a cartwheel like out a little bit further out than I normally would. I'll put my hand between, on your leg or hold myself up. And I just did a cartwheel next to him and he posted it online. It's like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Get your
But
big
Yeah,
man somewhere else.
I have a training partner who loves cartwheel passing, and every time he does it, we call him Air Jake because he just like flies. He used to be a gymnast, so he's like very comfortable on his hands and with his head underneath and all that. So whenever he does it, I'm like, oh, Air Jake.
Yeah. I love usually, especially if I've done it on them the first time, there's usually like a look of confusion, like did you how did you get over there?
I'm also a big
They're
man
not expecting it
cartwheel passer.
whatsoever.
Yeah, 100%. They go, did your big ass just fly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. Do you have any dreams of like owning? You mentioned you like teaching. Do you like feel like you might own a gym in the future? Is that something that you think is in the cards for you?
It's hard to say, but I think if I had a dream of what I would want, it would be like a brick and mortar physical therapy wellness type of building that has PT, has strength conditioning. We do classes with like yoga and like other mobility things, like things that I guess accessible in terms of just promoting movement.
Sure.
And then if there's jiu-jitsu involved, that'd be really cool too. But ultimately, if I were to have a dream, that would be what it was. It's like a brick and mortar type of location.
Did I see you? I'm almost positive I saw one of your Instagram videos, or maybe it was a picture of you. Were you teaching like a mobility class? It didn't look like maybe just straight up yoga, but it looked like you were walking around the room and people were like in a stretching position. Or is that something that you teach? Like you'll teach in a class setting?
Yeah, it was at a gym in Garden Grove, and I was teaching that I think I did 1 or 2 sessions there, but it's just the drive was really challenging at the certain time that we were trying to figure out how to do the class. So I'm still in contact with them, trying to figure out how we can make a better structure, but that would be ultimately something that I would love to do, is a class that is focused on educating about mobility and some ways that can be good based off the most updated evidence of how we can create a easier, less of a path of resistance of people getting back into taking care of their bodies.
One of my favorite things in jiu-jitsu that I ever did, my school for probably around 6 months did a yoga class before our Saturday open mat. So 8 a.m., 1 hour of yoga, and then we do a 2-hour open mat, 9 to 11. Our open mat was more like our school open mat, and he would do instruction for the first hour. So it was an hour of jiu-jitsu, an hour of yoga, then an hour of instruction, and an hour of like open rolling. I have never been more limber and loose than a yoga class right before training. I mean, it's just like an extension of the stretching that we were talking about before, but it was amazing. I was so upset when they stopped doing it. But it was like, yoga I think is the one piece that's truly missing as I get older, is missing from my regimen. I definitely think it's something that I have to do more of.
I can't work out on my own. All the rehab exercises I've been given, and they're like, all right, do these at home. And I'm like,
there's like a million different things.
Never happens.
Well, that's why you have a Dr. Diana going like, this is what you need to get, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Exactly.
There you go. So I've got one more question for you.
The most important
the most important question. As a gi competitor, because you talked about all your passing is in gi. So, do you or do you not wash your jiu-jitsu belt?
I do.
Yeah.
Wait. How frequently?
I wash it every time or once a week, basically.
What?
Like you should.
That is unheard of.
Like you should.
Why?
No, should.
So I wash my gis anytime I train, and then once a week at the end of the week, I'll throw my belt in there. I'll wash it together just because hygiene, you know?
It's crazy how common sense that is and how it never gets done.
Yeah. I always say Lysol and Neutral Zone Clean, one or the other. I hang it. I've always washed my belts. I've always had 2 belts and washed them both at every rank except for black belt. I've had
It
2.
sounds like you're being
So always
judgmental.
just wash it. Me or her?
You.
Me? Oh yeah. You dirty bastards that show up with a smell. Like, I washed my gi, but here's this freaking smelly belt that has, you know. But like,
I'm
you
just
know,
saying,
not
it's a
everybody
judgment-free
like.
zone.
Like, I take it, I hang it, I spray it, and then I am washing it. Like, maybe once a month I wash it. But I do want this belt to last long. I'm hoping that I'm training for a long time. But I think people that don't are a little dirty. A little dirty. Yeah, a little disgusting. All right, Dr. Diana, we're gonna say goodbye. I got a couple more shout outs, so stick around, and we want to take a picture with you in front of this. We're gonna put you on this TV here and take a couple of pictures for promo, okay? But give you an opportunity to any shout outs that you want to give, anybody you're working with, anybody, sponsor what, anything like that. Here's your time.
No, you can just find us on everywhere. Open Mat Physio. That's it.
Very cool. All righty.
I've been training jiu-jitsu for 4 years. In 4 years, I got hurt 6 times. I received stem cell injections in my wrists, elbows, shoulders, both knees, and I got stem cells recently injected in my left index finger. After a week and a half, I was right back at it, going the way I like to go at it. At Leheal, Biogenix, they're friendly, they're patient, they answer all the questions you might have. Educate yourself. Call Leheal, ask about stem cells, and see where it takes you.
Unlock the power of your online presence with Black Belt Digital Marketing. Their reputation management program ensures your Google business profile seen by more potential customers. Black Belt Digital Marketing is your full-service digital marketing agency specializing in local SEO and reputation management. Boost your business today. Visit bbdigitalmarketing.com. Your success is their priority.
Shout out to Leheal Optics. Do I have my sunglasses?
I brought mine today. I forgot them in the car.
Forgot them?
I brought them this time, though. That was closer.
Funny, I wore one of not these. There's another pair that I have that I wore on the boat. I posted a picture and I completely forgot to tag them. I didn't even realize I had them. I had like the Leheal Optics on. I tagged Hero Retreats, so the Hero BJJ or Hero.
You can always repost it.
Retreats in Costa Rica. Then I had my Mitchell. I wore my first time fanny pack wearer. I wore my fanny pack from Combat Night. Thank you to Mitchell. And I tagged them, and then Leheal Optics commented, "Nice glasses." I'm like, damn, I forgot to tag them. But Leheal Optics, very cool. The ones that I was wearing were not the bamboo. These are the bamboo. So they are the go-to brand for sunglasses and apparel featuring these unique bamboo sunglasses. They have lots of different designs. These aren't the only ones. These are just my favorite. Born in Southern California, their products embody the BJJ lifestyle that we all know and love. Visit Leheal Optics, LeaOoptics, LehealOptics.com. Use code JJD for 10% off your order. And they are also supporters of Academy Save. So thank you for all of that. I need some more glasses to give away to guests if you're listening, Lionel. Check us out at Jiu Jitsu Dummies for all the ways to watch, listen, support. Dr. Diana, again, thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate you having you on. And I think if you want to do this, I don't know what the dynamics is with your partner. If I can ask, is your partner also a life partner, or are you together? No. Okay, just partners. Okay. But if you ever wanted to come on, the two of you, maybe in a couple months we do something like this again, can have you both come on, and or if you're ever in Florida or you're making a Florida trip, get with me. Hope as far in advance as you can. Get with it, and we'd love to have you come in. It's a really cool vibe when you come. We have enough room for 4 people. We can squeeze in more, but me, Ben, and 2 guests. It's nice to do like what I call like a little bit of a round table. So
I can also sit on Milton's lap if we have more.
Yeah, you want to sit on my lap a lot today, buddy.
That's true.
But yeah, so if you ever want to come on, we can get something on the schedule where we have both of you. You could be in the same room. It's better to have 1 Zoom than 2 going. I think it's like bad
Yeah.
for production, but if you're in the same place, that's great. And then we just, again, have another conversation, get some more input, and talk about what you're doing. And certainly, again, thank you for coming on. We definitely appreciate it. Don't hang up. Stay there for a second. Again, Jiu-Jitsu Dummies for all the ways to watch, listen, and support. Ben, you have anything else that you want to add? You got any fights coming up? Anything?
Yes.
Sorry, I almost forgot. I almost forgot about it. You saw that.
All good. All good.
I remember.
Tomorrow we actually have Combat Night Jacksonville, where American top team Palm Beach Gardens team captain Sham Delva will be the co-main event, whooping that ass for everybody to see. Soon after, well, honestly, there's just so much going on with Combat Night. You can follow Combat Night MMA on Instagram.
Yeah.
You will see all their posts come up. I believe we got June 7th in St. Pete, June 21st in Orlando.
When are they coming back down here to South Florida? I didn't get to go to the
19th.
amateur event. I want to go to the next event. I got to get it on my schedule.
They're back local in Fort Lauderdale, July 19th at Club
19th.
Sway.
Well,
And I will be commentating all of them. Maya is the same weekend. And I'm trying to figure out that because I got guys fighting on the 19th and I got to be at MayaCon. So
Jacksonville is a ride.
4 hours. Leave it in the morning.
I'm not going to that one. Well, okay, listen, we're going to leave it there. Again, Diana, thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Peace, love, jiu-jitsu. Oos.